Sine Law, Part 2. So we're going to solve for a missing angle, and again notice that this is not a 90-degree triangle, so we can't use SOHCAHTOA and Pythagoras for this. We have to use either the sine law or something that we're going to be learning in the future, cosine law. Now, how do we know that the sine law is the one to use? Notice we have angle C and its opposite side. This is little c. So that tells you the sine law is what I want. I'm going to label this side as little b, this side as little a. So the question is find angle A. That's the missing bit. So I'm going to set up the sine law. Sine of A over little a equals the sine of B over little b equals the sine of capital C over little c. Now I definitely have to use C because I've got information on the side and the angle. So I'm going to have this as part of my ratio. Now the question is, can I go solve for A right away? I can't because I don't know either the angle or the side. So I have to actually hold off and use the side B to start with. So sine of B over little b equals the sine of C over little c. Now the unknown is the angle, which means that we don't want to take the reciprocal of this, we want to leave it in the numerator. So the sine of b, which we don't know, over little b, which is 7, equals the sine of 112 over 10. Since b is my variable that I'm solving for, I need to get rid of the 7, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 7. Cancels on this side, and I end up with the sine of angle B equals this calculation. And using your calculator to get that, you should get 0.6490. Now the next step is to get rid of this sine here. The opposite of sine is taking the inverse sine. So when I take the inverse sine, it'll disappear on the left side, and I'll get angle B equals the inverse sine of 0.6490, and you should get an answer of 40.5 degrees. So we know angle B is 40.5 degrees. The question though was, what is angle A? Well, angle A, there's 180 degrees in a triangle, so angle A is 180 degrees minus the 112 for angle C minus the 40.5 degrees. So angle A is 27.5 degrees. So we're going to solve a problem here that is related to the sine law, but is also related to physics, and specifically the travel of this airplane across the river here. Now, what is happening in this situation is that the plane takes off and it has an airspeed and it's heading straight across the river. So this diagram here, this side here represents the airplane heading straight across the river. So that's the speed of the airplane. It's called the airspeed. It's the speed of the plane relative to the air. Now what has happened is there's a bit of wind, and the wind is blowing in this way. So that wind is going to cause the plane to deviate off course. So it's actually not going to be able to fly straight across. It's flying at an angle as it crosses the river. And the question is, how many degrees did the plane deviate off course? So that's this angle right here. What's that? So to talk about this mathematically, we're going to do a little bit of labeling, and I'm going to label this one as A, this one as B, and this one as C. So this airspeed here is actually little b. The wind speed we know is 50 kilometers an hour, so that arrow represents 50, and it is actually also labeled as little c because it's right across from C. It's 12 degrees south of west, so this angle here is 12 degrees. Here's the west, and we're just a little bit south of that. And we want to find angle C. So angle C is what we want to find out. We also know that the plane has a ground speed of 180 kilometers an hour. So the ground speed is 180. So that's the length of the big solid green line, which is also side A, because that's how fast the plane is going relative to the ground. Now, what we've got here is something that we can use the sine law for, and the way I know that is because it looks like we don't have any angles inside the triangle. Here's my triangle, and there's no angles in here, but since this is 12 degrees, and we know this bigger one is 90, 90 minus 12 is 78. So we know this is 78 degrees. So all of a sudden we have angle A and the opposite side. That means we can use the sine law. So the sine of 78 over 180, and now we're going to pick up another ratio that we want to use. We want to find out what C is, and we know what's directly opposite C. So we know the vector is, or the speed is 50, and the angle is the one we don't know. So the sine of C over little c, which is represented by 50. So here we go. We're going to multiply both sides by 50. And then we get, this cancels on this side, and I get the sine of C equals 0.2717. So now I've got to get rid of the sine, so I'm going to take the inverse sine of both sides and to find angle C. And angle C is 16 degrees. And we just take a look at, see if that makes sense. Yeah, 16 degrees looks about right.